Welcome back to Square Off. K-12 education was on the ballot in this election and school board races that saw partisanship play a larger role. Republicans targeting seats in several districts and also in the election of the next school superintendent. Voters returned 77-year-old Republican Tom Horn to the job he held 12 years ago. The question, why did incumbent Democrat Kathy Hoffman lose? We're back with our political insiders, Democratic election lawyer Roy Herrera and Republican political consultant Matt Benson. Let's start with that race for superintendent. Roy, how did Kathy Hoffman lose to a 77-year-old man whose political career we thought was over 8 years ago?
Well, it's very disappointing. I mean, Democrats have a lot to celebrate over the last week, but that is one race that we couldn't win. That's going to be bad. When you look at that vote for that particular race, there was a significant undervote. So what that meant essentially is that people voted up and down the ballot until they got the superintendent and didn't simply vote at all for that race. And I think a lot of it is because a lot of voters didn't know much about either candidate because it is a down ballot race. So I think if I had to diagnose why we lost, that there probably wasn't enough investment in that race to educate voters as to the importance of the race and the candidates.
Investment, that's where the finger pointing is starting on the Democratic side, the belief that major groups, the teachers union, the Arizona Education Association, didn't put money behind Kathy Hoffman. Is that a fair critique?
Well, I think, first of all, resources are finite. I mean, at a certain point, a lot of money tends to flow to the top of the ticket, the Senate, the governor's races, and sometimes races like that get overlooked. I also think, and somebody can correct me if I'm wrong, that Kathy Hoffman ran clean, and I think not a traditional fundraiser, and I think that sometimes is problematic because the clean election funding for statewide candidates is simply just not enough anymore.
I want to pick up on something Roy just said about Tom Horn and Kathy Hoffman. People don't know much about the candidates. Have voters forgotten Tom Horn and the scandals that plagued his administrations?
The memories are short. So yeah, I think, look, it's a down ballot race. I think you saw a lot of reverting to form with voters further down ballot. And the fact of the matter is, where there were, let's call them non-Trumpy, more mainstream conservative candidates, they did quite well on this ballot. Whether you're talking about State Treasurer Kimberly Yee, Tom Horn, Rachel Mitchell as Maricopa County Attorney, those candidates won. It was the candidates that were focused solely on 2020 and Trump and MAGA that got beat.
I also wonder if Kathy Hoffman's paying a price for the pandemic and just parents' anger over how schools dealt with their kids, frustration, and she was an obvious target. I want to move on to what's going on in the Republican Party now. Significant defeats, losing a U.S. Senate seat for the third consecutive cycle. Members of the old guard, let's call it, like Karen Taylor Robeson, your former boss, and former party chair Robert Graham, are calling for new party leadership. Will anything change?
Look, party chairmen and women are hired to win, and she has a record of losing.
Kelly Ward, you're talking about.
Two U.S. Senate seats, governor's office, multiple statewide seats. So it sounds like she's going to go. My question is, who's going to replace her? If it's just one of her acolytes, if it's Pam Kirby, her number 2, or someone of that ilk, then it's meet the new boss, same as the old boss, and nothing's going to change.
But when you look at who the Republican Party is now, the activists, the committeemen, they're all Trumpers largely, aren't they?
Well, it's certainly a good number, but I think most of all they want to win. In 2024, there's an awful lot at stake. And so I think we're going to find out whether how much introspection there is here to go a different course and see different leadership as a party.
Are you aware of anyone from the Karen Taylor Robeson, Robert Graham wing of the party who might run?
Not yet, but it's early.
The chairmanship. Okay, elections are in January. Roy, should Democrats be gloating right now? Was this over big wins? Maybe could have had the legislature?
Well, I mean, we defied odds, certainly, for a midterm year. So it's very exciting that we've got these statewide wins. On the Kelly Ward thing, I mean, I would love for her to stay on. I mean, from my perspective, because it's, again, to your point, she has a record of losing. And the thing that I wonder is, to the question of whether the party can change on the Republican side, I think it's going to be difficult because Donald Trump, as of last week, as we referred to earlier, is now running for president again. And what if he's the nominee?
Got to end it there.